Again, the chairperson of the Southern African Development Community, President Cyril Ramaphosa, has arrived in Harare, Zimbabwe on a working visit. What is expected to hold talks with President Emmerson Mnangagwa. Sophie Mokoena, our acting political editor, joins us now from Harare. A very good evening to you, Sophie. Well, certainly President Ramaphosa is very concerned about issues of peace and stability in the region. Are we expecting that to feature quite prominently in his discussions with President Mnangagwa?
Well, Criselda, those talks have just been concluded, and we spoke to the two leaders. They indicated that because both were fairly new in this leadership, particularly at government level as leaders of countries, they took this opportunity to discuss issues related to countries, but also look at the regional challenges. One other issue of a priority for both leaders is the issue of economy. You know that Zimbabwe had problems previously, the economic meltdown, and the country is battling to revive its economy. South Africa, on the other hand, we've also had our own challenges on issues of the economy. We're downgraded, and therefore the country is still on recovery. They discussed ways and means to ensure that they speed up the process of the economic recovery in both countries. But the issue of security also quite important. President Ramaphosa, as the chair of SADC, very concerned that there are countries, particularly in the region, that are not so stable. You look at a country such as the DRC, where there are pockets of conflict. There is concern that if these matters are not resolved, DRC might experience serious problems on the eve of election in that country. The other important issue they spoke about was how they can perhaps assist each other on issues of development.
Well, Sophie, on the issue of elections, South Africa goes to an election next year. You've got Zimbabwe as well with a much anticipated election. The DRC is one of the major issues. We would recall as well during the previous tour by President Ramaphosa. The DRC had also had been reflected quite greatly in the discussions with regard to some of the challenges that the SADC region is facing.
Yes, indeed, South Africa is going to elections next year, but Zimbabwe in few months' time. And therefore, I did pose a question to President Emmerson Mnangagwa about the state of readiness. He indicated that they are ready. Government is doing everything in its power to ensure that these elections are free, fair and credible. At the same time, you have the administrator of the United Nations Development Program, Akim Steiner, who is here also to get a first-hand information in terms of state of readiness. He met the political parties yesterday, political parties expressing their concerns in terms of the voters' role and the system that's being used here to register voters, the technology that is being used, and calling on government to ensure that there is an audited process or to audit the registration, but also the voters' role. And I think, indeed, as the chair of SADC, he is also concerned about the issues in the DRC. You know very well, last year elections couldn't take place because there were no resources, and it is hoped that this year DRC will go to elections, but it looks like it's unlikely. The issue of security is still a challenge.
Well, our acting political editor, Sophie Mokoena, live to us there from Harare as President Cyril Ramaphosa has already met now with his Zimbabwean counterpart, Emmerson Mnangagwa. Now, earlier today, the president was in Maputo, Mozambique.